So I think the fun part about watching a Jason Statham film is that you know what you're getting before you even sit down to watch the film, as is the case with The Beekeeper, which Chris and I just watched. We knew exactly what we were getting before we even sat down. Like Chris doesn't know his name as an actor, like upon recognition of his face, like I do. But she saw the shaved head. She's like, "Oh, this is gonna be an action film, isn't it?" And I was like, "Yeah." She wasn't sure at first because I didn't tell her what we were watching. We just sat down and watched a film, and she lets me take care of all the entertainment. Um, so I put this on, and the intro sequences go in, and the credits, and it's talking about bees. And she's like, "Oh, is this a movie about assassins or something?" Because they're talking about bees as assassins and all this other stuff. And then she sees Jason Statham's face and bald head, and she goes, "Oh, this is gonna be an action movie." And I was like, "Yep." And then we just sat back and literally chowed down on popcorn and had some Coca-Cola with ice and enjoyed a nice, fun adventure romp. So out of the gate, this is from last year. It's not overly complicated. Like most of his other films, he's playing an ex-operator. They do establish a little bit of, I would argue, some like John Wick style background. And the funny thing was, Chris at one point, because he was they shot his beehive up and he was going after people, and she's like, "Hey, it's like John Wick, only it's bees instead of a dog." And I was like, "You're not wrong." Like and the establishment of this organization of beekeepers who are like outside of the law, and who are like the watchers who watch, the watchers. It's an interesting concept. It's been done before, but it's no different than the Continental. It's no different than the John Wick universe. They've got a potential for a franchise here. I don't know if they're going to pursue it or not, but it had some names we've seen before, like Jeremy Irons doing a typical Jeremy Irons. I'm here for the paycheck role. Minnie Driver with a tiny little, almost cameo type appearance, which I'm wondering if that got cut down from other stuff. And one of the kids from the Hunger Games, whose name escapes me, those are all sort of the ones I recognized. Um, but apart from that, the basic concept here is that, oh, and the mom from the Cosby Show at the very beginning. So essentially, he's living life as an actual beekeeper on this farm that he rents from a lady, and she ends up, as will happen to many old ladies, is on her computer and gets an error message and calls a number, and they tell her that she's got a virus and they need to walk her through stuff, and she installs an app on her computer, and they drain her accounts, including a $2 million charity that she was managing for this group, and she unalives herself because she's so devastated over what has happened, and that prompts him to begin this chain of, "I'm going to hunt down the people who did this and make them pay." Side plot is that the old lady's daughter works for the FBI. I kind of feel like she was kind of a bit of a pointless character. Like, I think the movie could have done just as well without needing to have the FBI kid, who's the daughter of the lady at the beginning, because I kind of feel like her and her partner, I mean, they did good jobs as actors, there to fill pages on screen. But I don't feel like they were really that relevant to the plot. I feel like we could have completely done without that and had this just be a revenge plot, because once he goes out and starts doing what he does, um, it's a Jason Statham film, and you don't really need much more than the revenge plot to move it forward. Be that as it may, behind the scenes, you have essentially um, a kid who is running this uh, call center scam and raising billions of dollars. And unbeknownst to anybody until we get to almost the very end of the film, turns out that his mother is the president of the United States, recently elected, and her campaign money essentially all came from her son's corrupt negotiations and businesses, which she didn't know. Um, and so, basically, he's working his way up the food chain, um, until he gets to the president's son. And along the way, you're learning more about the Beekeeper organization, which is sort of, but not really explained. they kind of try to make an explanation of it, but it's mostly just there to be like, hey, yeah, there's this super secret organization who exists outside of the FBI and CIA, and they're better than the FBI and CIA because they're highly trained, the best trained operatives on the planet, and they operate, outside the law. Um, and he does what he does in all his movies, which is kick ass and take names. And it was fun. It was a fun popcorn movie, not overly complicated. Um, I definitely feel like this was a paycheck role for Jeremy Irons. Nothing wrong with that at all. Jeremy Irons has been around a long time. The guy has earned the right to do a paycheck role from time to time. Paycheck, that's another good movie that I haven't watched in a while with Mel Gibson. Oh, that's a good movie. We might have to go. I don't know that. I know I watched that with Chris when we were dating, like probably 15 years ago, but I don't think I've seen that since then. Paycheck's a really good movie. Matter of fact, Jason Statham did a version of that same character, I think with J Lo in it, if I'm not mistaken. Parker maybe was the name of the movie. Um, anyway, not a bad movie. If you're looking for a popcorn action film where you know exactly what's going to go down and what you're going to get, you could do worse than this. That's my thoughts on the movie. Let me know yours. Drop them down below. Like, subscribe, hit the bell icon so you never miss an update. More to come. We watched The Old Man recently with Jeff Bridges, which was a phenomenal old man coming out of retirement, ex-CIA operative. Probably have that up soon. We got to go watch the second season of that. But we have Andor kicking off pretty soon. And of course, we're also reviewing individual episodes of The Last of Us Season 2 right now. As far as Andor goes, I'll probably do individual episodes as well as an overarching review as well because those are coming out in blocks of 3. Stay tuned. More to come. Daily streams at 5 a.m. Central on YouTube and Twitch for all the gaming stuff. And I'll see everybody next time. Have a great rest of your weekend.